The idea from the very beginning was simple and easy to learn. So the learning curve is a couple of days, I think is enough. It's a drag and drop, very easy concept, very intuitive. I think the whole goal was to make it pleasant for them to be able to do it in quick so that they can serve their customers and get back to them before they lose that customer. So we don't want customers to be waiting on the designs to be done or for the estimation department to finalize the estimating. In the meantime, you lose that customer, they go and visit other competitors and that's gone. So if you get them right in front of you and you present to them the colors and everything and with the price that goes with it, make adjustments to the pricing by changing materials because maybe that initial design did not meet their budget, and doing all that on the fly is a very powerful tool to have to be able to close that deal as soon as possible.
Welcome to Verify in Field, the Millwork podcast. Your host, Jacob Edmond, CEO of Ductworks, will be interviewing experts in the industry to bring you insights and knowledge about the latest trends, techniques, and challenges in millwork. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and join us as we explore the world of millwork. Here's Jacob. Welcome to Verify in Field.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Verify in Field. Today we have Garen Ceva. Am I pronouncing that right? Garen Ceva?
You got it, man.
Awesome. And he is the founder of Vesta 360, a software startup company that and his background comes from being an account manager, I believe, at Microvellum. So we're going to talk and find out a little bit about Garen's history and his journey to founding a software company in the millwork industry, and a little bit more about what Vesta 360 is, how it works, and who it's for. Good morning, Garen.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for joining. And to get started, I think if you could just tell a little bit about your background, how you got into the millwork software space, and a little bit about your history.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show. It's I'm a big fan of yours, and I've listened to a few of the podcasts, so I'm really excited to be here. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
So basically, it all started right after graduation from industrial engineering. I got a job in a molded plywood manufacturing company. Basically, the very office chairs that you're sitting on right now, the skeleton inside is a molded plywood. So we would stack up the plywood, put them in RF presses, and then take them to CNC machines. Some of them were heat induction presses, would also go to CNC machines. There was something like almost 10 different presses, 10 CNC machines. 3 of them were 5-axis. So I got my exposure to woodworking in that environment. Started off as a production coordinator and then moved up to managing the entire facility. So along that process, software was always the key tool that I used to manage and coordinate all of my operations, right? From there, I left there and I started working in a cabinet shop, so residential cabinet manufacturing. I ran the operations there as well. That's where I got my first exposure to Microvellum. So I managed a team of engineers as well. We coordinated a lot with production. That's where I was able to see the benefits of what Microvellum brought by requesting different reports out of that system, but never really a user, just working with the team that generated those reports that I needed to manage the shop floor, right? After I went on my own and did a little bit of consulting and ended up doing some consulting work in an office furniture manufacturer where they used Microvellum. Part of the mandate was to improve operations on the shop floor, but as well as upgrade their Microvellum software. So the last phase was to upgrade their Microvellum software. That's where I reached out to back then was a third-party reseller of Microvellum, and they had just gone through that transition. So when I reached out to them, I said, "Sorry, we can't help you. You got to call Microvellum directly." So I ended up doing that and building a relationship with Microvellum, and they were like, "Listen, we need somebody in Canada to represent Microvellum, and you would be a good fit. And I was at that point in my career, I was hoping I could make a switch from production to software. So really, the timing and everything was perfect, and I jumped on that opportunity. That was 2015, and I don't regret doing that switch. But I'm well equipped now, I think, coming from the production floor and knowing software. I think I'm well equipped to find solutions to the customers that we're serving, right? So that was really my exposure. I did that and since 2015 for 5 years. During my time there, I saw an opportunity for design software on the sales side on residential. And I decided to take the plunge, risk my everything I got, basically with my career as well. With Microvellum, we were doing pretty good, and Microvellum's still doing very, very well since I left. So risked all that to start a dream, I guess. And here I am now.
Awesome. So you went right from account management for Microvellum to starting Vesta 360, right?
Correct.
Can you talk about what inspired you to create Vesta 360 specifically, and how the genesis of, hey, this is not just an idea, but it's a company and a product. How did that come about?
So what I noticed in the Canadian market was that a lot of the residential shops were using Microvellum mostly for engineering, and the design and the sales were done in different software. And so I wanted to find a way to improve on that. But I also found that if some designers were particular, they had a lot of ways that they wanted to design and make their life easy. So once I realized that, and Microvellum had started a tool called Fluid Designer back then, which I gravitated towards, and I appreciated it. I learned a lot about it. I did a lot of sales on that product, and then finally they decided to put that product to rest. So they didn't develop it anymore, and they didn't support it anymore. But I saw a need there. I believe that there was more to that and an opportunity there that I should pursue. So that's what I decided to do, and it was So this was probably 2018, so 3 years after being with Microvellum. I said, I had the idea of wanting to pursue this. So I started planning everything out. So I put everything into a business plan for 1 year. I wrote it all out. And 2019 up until 2020 is when I had my MVP, and decided to make the switch at that point in 2020, right when the pandemic, right along with the pandemic. So I took a risk, but I think it was a calculated risk at the same time, because I did realize that there was a demand for this type of product in the market.
So can you explain a little bit for those listening, what is Vestas 360? So what is the product? What is the clientele it serves today?
Yeah.
And then I think we can go back and kind of talk about what it started as.
Yeah, for sure. So initially, the product is for sales designers to have a tool to quickly design, present, and estimate a project and try to close the deal as seamlessly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So from the very beginning, when I was planning everything out, I was like, okay, do I go desktop based or do I go cloud based? So wrote up all the pros and cons for all of that. Finally decided that cloud based would be the best solution to go. So we developed the platform on the cloud. And from there, basically what it does is that it literally just makes the life of a designer that's working part of a residential sales team a lot easier because we implemented a CRM in there as well. So a sales manager can essentially see the entire pipeline. You got the different stages that the sales cycle goes through. And embedded in there is a design tool, a very powerful design tool where designers can quickly design. And the way we built that was really, we wanted to make it simple, but we didn't want to compromise on functionality as well. So we build it as a real CAM capable software. So some information from manufacturing can come out of that. So when you have a cabinet in Vesta 360, it has a left side, a right side, it has all the stretchers, the backs, all the components are there. It has edge banding, it has everything. So we didn't want to just create a single mesh and not, just attach a BOM to that, and that was it. We really wanted to make it part by part so that we can get the most accurate estimate out of that design. So you design, we know the data that we have inside is we're rich in data. We know everything, all the parts and components. We can estimate it based off of the cost of the materials and labor, and then present to the customer on a quotation report.
Okay. So today it's a platform that if I'm a customer, maybe I have a residential shop and I'm probably estimating in Excel or something simple, PDFs, and then I'm either trying to use like Microvellum or Cabinet Vision, or I'm delaying that until I've won the job, and then I'm doing my engineering and stuff in there. There's kind of this gap, right? Of like, how do I do quick presentation stuff, but I don't want to spend the time to do full engineering design, as well as duplicating efforts on the estimating side. So this is kind of companies that don't already have a full ERP or don't have a full enterprise solution. They maybe have already adopted an engineering software, and they can adopt what you have and estimate and do the sales and design up front, get a visual, get a 3D, and still transition that data to their engineering software, right?
Yeah, that was an important process as well. I didn't want any redundant work in that process. So currently we use the XML exports and imports from Microvellum, and then as well as for Cabinet Vision, they got their ORD exports as well. So we use those to be able to synchronize directly to currently Microvellum or Cabinet Vision.
Okay. So kind of rewinding a little bit now, at some point, you had to, because you said you wrote a business plan, but part of that plan had to be, hey, I have to make a software. I have to code this. I have to what gave you how did you get over that hurdle of, hey, I have to create this? Because it doesn't sound like your background was software. You're not a software developer or a programmer or a software engineer, right?
That's right.
So how did you get to the point of hey, I'm going to have to pay somebody or hire somebody or figure out how to actually create the MVP, right? And so one, how did you go about that? And two, what was the MVP?
Right. Yeah. Good questions. Well, how I went about that was simply look around online to see who's qualified to meet the technology that I wanted to develop. So I got burnt quite a bit at the very beginning, finding the right candidates. But I knew that I had the vision, and I needed a partner that would be the technical side of it, right? And that would develop the product that was in my vision. So I got burnt quite a bit, I got to say, and wasted a lot of money and resources until I can find the right person. And finally, when I came and found the right person, it was perfect. It started. That's when the real development work started, and I think, yeah. I mean, it hasn't been an easy journey, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
I learned a lot myself. So over the past years, of course, I learned to do a little bit of development myself. So I could do a little bit on my own. Like if I was to, I think I heard you say the same thing at one point. If you were to redo your career, I would probably do the same thing and go back and be a software engineer. I think
Yeah.
that probably resonates the most with me at this point in my life.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, you had started with, an MVP. And for those who are listening who don't know
Yeah.
what we keep saying, that's a minimum viable product, right?
Yeah.
And so in software, this is very common, but also really in any kind of business or product development, is say, hey, what is the minimum requirements for something that we believe we can offer to the market and sell, knowing that we're going to improve on it, but we have to get something out there to get some sales going, get some revenue going, and get it in front of customers. What did that look like for Vesta 360?
Oh man, it was completely different to what it looks like right now. I could tell you that. But I was still proud because the concept and the ideas of what I wanted was there. The foundation was there. And when I presented to a few current customers that we have, they fell in love with the idea more than what they were seeing as the MVP. They understood the vision. They understood the benefits that it brought to them. And it was a commitment and on both of our ends to say, okay, well, we're committed to this. We see the vision. Let's build it together. And really, the whole entire time, everything that Vesta is right now comes directly from our customers who develop every single functionality that's in there. So it wasn't just me with, my imagination and started telling my developers, this is what we need, that's what we need. It was the users themselves telling us what they need as a tool, and we built off of that, and we met regularly on a weekly basis to improve off of that minimum viable product. And we went through, I would say, we're on the third version since that minimal viable product, and so far we feel like we are ready for a fourth version that would be a lot more powerful. But I think we're probably going to delay moving it to that fourth version for another year or so.
Right. So you had it sounds like some kind of early adopters that believed in the vision, that had a need for what you were building, and helped you develop what you built. So what are those early adopters? What does their business look like? Like, what is that kind of model client?
Yeah. So that model client is typically a residential showroom with 4 or 5 different sales designers and a manufacturing shop in the back, basically. So customers, homeowners walk in, they're greeted by a sales designer person that would consult them during their kitchen renovation process, recommend different things, do the designs in Vesta, price it, show it to them, try to make the sale, and then all that comes into Microvellum. So the ideal setup really is, one where you have a showroom with designers and the manufacturing that's part of the same facility.
Okay. And I assume that model client is pretty common in the residential market, and I guess particularly up where you're at in Canada.
Yep, it is.
But you have clientele outside of that area, I assume.
Yes, across North America.
Yeah,
currently.
Okay. And so I guess what was fundamental is, one, to be able to design and kind of design for your client. So it's you can put in cabinets, you can put in products, you can build a kitchen or whatever right there in the software. But with that is some pricing. How does the estimating side of it function?
Right. So our back end to the design, where we store the data, such as materials, hardware, the cabinet information, all of that is actually built on an open source ERP platform called Odoo. Have you heard of
Mhm.
Odoo?
Yeah.
So we managed to integrate all that. So we took that open source, a community version of Odoo, we fully customized it for our industry, and we're using that as our backend to the design. So
Mhm.
in there, we're putting all the materials and the pricing, labor, everything that you need to be able to generate an accurate estimate. So once that design is done and completed, it synchronizes automatically with the back end. And now we know everything about that design. We know all the components, the parts, how much hardware, how much linear length of edge banding. We know everything. So based off of all that pricing, we generate the estimating. So like I said, our cabinets are not just a cabinet. They are components, and the designer has access to those components. They can go to the left side. They could change the size and add edge banding to it. So it's pretty powerful in that sense for a cloud-based design software that could go as customizable as possible. We give them the ability to make those modifications, and as those modifications are done, that's captured into the estimating. So the estimating is based off of actual material usage in the scene.
Okay. And so I assume if I'm a customer and I come and I decide to buy Vesta 360, it's cloud-based. So, but I assume there's some setup of creating an account, setting up, like my data exists on its own somewhere.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like what is the startup, and what do you provide? What does the configuration kind of look like that a client does it once they invest in the software?
Yeah. So we wanted to cater to manufacturing shops as well to build their own data. But we also wanted to create a default data that any designer, independent designer can use as well. So you kind of have both options. You have a independent designer that just wants to sign up and use whatever library and materials that we have in our default Vesta catalog. But as well as a enterprise who has their own product offering and they want to set all that up in Vesta, then they would typically contact me. We will go through the process, of showing them all the capabilities and make sure that it does answer to a need that they have and solve problems in their current operations. Once we determine that, then we scope out the project based off of what do you need to have populated in the database, your materials, what kind of cabinets do you need, what kind of functionality do you need, and we scope that out, and we do a service to set all that up so that it's as seamless as possible for them, and then do a training process to get their designers on board and train to design.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned this a little bit, like you integrate with Microvellum through XML import and with Cabinet Vision through their .ord file. So what does that integration process look like? And once it's all set up, what does the workflow between the two look like?
Yeah. Well, it's pretty straightforward. I think, a lot of people know about that XML import. It's, and it's pretty powerful with just the way it is right now, because it allows engineers to focus on the engineering side while it gives the designer the freedom and the flexibility to do quick designs as well. So the XML is basically allowing that entire design that was done in Vesta to be redrawn and rebuilt automatically in Microvellum. And what that does is basically a match for name. So we set all that up in Vesta as well. We do have a field that says export name. So you could have it matching to your instance in the name that is in Microvellum. We also have a prompt matching. So for example, Vesta's prompt name will be toe kick height, all in one word. And then you match that to toe underscore kick underscore height for Microvellum. So you have a table that you fill out to match all those prompts one for one. That way, when you're exporting, you get all the information that you need. And it pretty much takes a one-door base that you drew in Vesta and says, go to your cabinet, go to your library, pick the one-door base, position it in XYZ coordinate in the scene, and place it right there. So, and with all the prompts that comes with it. So it's pretty straightforward. And I think that process works pretty well. And the workflow has been that a designer, once they sign the project and it's approved and signed, Vesta will generate the material requirements. So typically you can go straight to purchasing right out of Vesta. And of course we don't optimize, but we do have some wastage factors that can get into all of that as well. But, at least being able to place that order ahead of time is pretty beneficial. A lot of people do use it, and we're quite often right on the money, or one sheet off, one sheet less. The order later on isn't the end of the world after the engineering has been done. So the purchasing side can happen directly after the signing of the contract, and then the engineer will usually come and grab that XML and import it into Microvellum and do all the engineering from that point on. Then validate the materials as well if it needs any adjustments.
Right. So your Microvellum clients, like, are a lot of them using the foundation library, for example, and going straight from Vesta to that? Or is there configuration, like you mentioned, there's some translation of, hey, here's the prompt name in Vesta 360. What is the equivalent in Microvellum, for example? Like, is that most of the configuration that needs to be done? And then once that's done, you just push it over?
I just push it over. Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then you mentioned being able to get like materials and go to purchasing. Are a lot of your clients, like, they're just taking a report out of Vesta, and then that's basically their material request, like their quantities and their materials and stuff?
Yes and no. So for a good part of them that already have an ERP system and they have a purchasing, they will grab those material summary that Vesta generates into their other ERP system to do the purchasing. But because we are one of the things that, and really at the very beginning, this wasn't the vision that I had, but over the development of the product, it just happened to all come together pretty nicely where we started integrating with Odoo. So Odoo is a pretty powerful ERP on its own. It does have a purchasing, it does have a CRM, purchasing, project management, sales. It has a lot of different applications. So we said, hey, why not make Odoo's purchasing module available for that as well? So I got a few customers who are using that, and it works pretty seamlessly. As the order is signed and approved, it automatically checks material requirements, material inventory, and places the purchase order based off of that.
Really?
Yeah.
So it goes straight from Vesta into Odoo, essentially.
It is all Odoo. It goes from the design. Yeah. So it goes.
Okay.
So it goes from the design to Odoo automatically, and that's when the quotations are sent to the customer. Quotations are sent to the customer. They're signed with Odoo tools, and they're confirmed within Odoo already.
Oh, wow.
Because of that sales order is confirmed within Odoo, it automatically generates the shipping information, the purchase POs if it does require any materials to purchase. It looks at your inventory, reserves from your inventory, or creates a purchase order, and then also prepares the project management tool. So Odoo also has a project management tool. So it does automatically create that project management tasks and
Mm-hmm.
automatically assigns the people to that task. So they would get email notifications saying that you have been now assigned to this new project, and then they can click on it and start that project.
Wow. Okay. And all that basically via Odoo's backend is integrated into Vesta 360.
You got it. Yeah.
So what does I just lost my train of thought. So because I had another question about what you were describing. So what is the workflow? So you mentioned, say somebody walks into a showroom, a client walks into a showroom, they can design there on the fly, but I imagine there's also a lot of clients that aren't in person, right? And there's design and quotations happening and being sent. What does that workflow look like? Are they sending PDFs? Are they sending links to a live model? Like what is the design and sharing those designs with the client workflow look like?
Yeah. Okay. That's another good question for sure. So, all of those actually. So what we have is that the design is done in Vesta. We do photorealistic rendering. So we generate an image file, sorry. And then we have a 2D annotating section as well. So they will annotate their elevations and their plan views, then place it on PDFs, prepare the PDFs. That generates a PDF file. So now we got a PDF that comes out of there. We got the image that comes out of there. And we also generate a 3D model out of there that you can share with the customer, or a link to the project that you can share with the customer as well. So the link is pretty powerful. They click on it, they see their scene, their entire kitchen or whatever it was designed in 3D. They can't edit at all, but they can just view it and walk through it.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
And are the exports you get so I guess as far as the modeling and kind of CAD side of things, so to speak, right? What is that interface? What does that usability look like for, designers who are looking at investing in this? Do you describe it as similar to something they may have experience with? Is there, a steep learning curve?
The idea from the very beginning was simple and easy to learn. So the learning curve is, a couple of days, I think is enough. A few video sessions, I think you're good enough to get going. It's a drag and drop, very easy concept, very intuitive. So I think for the most part, I've done quite a bit of the training for our users, and I've seen them getting up and starting a lot faster than I finish my training. So by the time I'm showing the basic stuff, or gone into my training, and I look at what they've done, they've already finished up drawing the entire kitchen, right? So that's how straightforward and easy it is. Yeah, I think the whole goal was to make it pleasant for them to be able to do it in quick, so that they can serve their customers, serve more customers if they can, and get back to them before they lose that customer, right? So we don't want customers to be waiting on the designs to be done, or for the estimation department to finalize the estimating. In the meantime, you lose that customer, they go and visit other competitors, and that's gone. So if you get them right in front of you and you present to them the colors and everything, and with the price that goes with it, make adjustments to the pricing by changing materials because maybe that initial design did not meet their budget, and doing all that on the fly is a very powerful tool to have to be able to close that deal as soon as possible.
Right. Awesome. Okay. So what, I don't know, what you could share about this, but what does the future hold for Vesta 360? Are there any new things that you're either working on or hoping to add in the future? What do customers have to look forward to going forward with Vesta?
Well, we're constantly innovating, so we're constantly developing as well. We don't have major releases, right? We do small improvements regularly. So every week there is something new that happens seamlessly without any of our designers knowing. And we send a notification saying that, here are the improvements that we've done. Often I'll just send a little video as well, showing them of some of the improvements. And now they have it. And so it's on a weekly basis. We're just constantly improving. I think we're probably going to be expanding different markets as well. So with these configurators, we have now looked at more complex type of products such as entry doors and closets. So we are developing a very powerful entry door configurator for that market as well. Our closet solution right now is probably one of the most popular things that I'm getting bombarded nonstop by requests for that. I think it's definitely something new that the market does not have, and it's missing that flexibility and the power to design for closets. So we're going to be continuing developing those that market because of the demand that we're seeing right now. And probably get into AR and VR very soon. Along the way, I think probably walkthroughs, being able to do. So right now we're just generating images, photorealistic images, but video creation as well to present to the customers is something that's coming up very soon as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. So, and this is all, so you mentioned you have weekly releases. So basically, and it's a cloud-based software, so everything is kind of live updated as people are used to with other cloud-based software.
Yeah.
And they get notifications of those. It integrates with Microvellum, Cabinet Vision. Is there anything else that it integrates with, or is in the process of being?
We've looked at Mosaic as well, but it's not the same type of integration. I think that you wouldn't be able to rebuild the entire kitchen in Mosaic. You would only populate on the list section, order list section. So it's less of a powerful integration. But I think with those two currently, we got our hands full with serving users of Microvellum and Cabinet
Vision.
Yeah.
Awesome. So a couple of things I'm interested to get your thoughts on the industry as a whole. And every guest I have usually asks them 2 questions about the industry. So the first, I'm curious from your perspective, what do you see changing in the millwork industry over the next 5 to 10 years?
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I've been thinking about that question because I do hear you say it quite often. And so I think one obvious change that's happening, and we probably all agree on, is robotics, right? So I think what's going to happen is automation with robotics is probably going to be what CNCs brought to the industry way back then, right? So I think if you're not thinking of automating your processes with robotics, you might be missing out on some opportunities right there. And I think another really, well, of course, AI is gonna bring some changes there as well. But even before AI, one thing that I'm really excited about, and I think Vesta 360 is positioned well for that, is this concept of mass customization. So instead of mass producing similar products, what we want to do is bring manufacturing locally and allow designers and users customize things within certain parameters and have that process automatically get to your production floor as seamlessly as possible without any intervention by an engineer. So have an engineer set everything up, link everything up properly so that we can allow these customizations to happen on the front end and yet that translates immediately into manufacturable data that can go onto the production floor. So,
Right.
so what I would really like to see that happen over the next 5 years is the concept of mass customization.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so that mass customization, obviously that's kind of core and fundamental to Vesta 360 and what you guys offer, right? Being able to customize to however the industry goes and the products that need to be made.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
On the flip side of that, what do you see staying the same over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I'm not sure. I think what's going to remain the same is innovation. So that's kind of contradicting what you said. So people are still going to be innovating in the space, which ultimately means that things are going to be constantly changing as well. But I think innovation, I think we got so many smart people in the industry that are passionate about what they do, and they want to constantly innovate and bring new ways of doing things. I think that's not going to go away. And thanks to that, people like yourself, like myself, and a few people in the industry, I think we're going to be able to push this industry to new places and to par with what's going on in the rest of the industries as well. Because quite frankly, I do find that we are a little bit behind on technology, and I really want to bring that to par with everything else that's going on. So I think innovation is going to be something that's not going to change. But
Yeah. Awesome. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I agree. I think definitely the stuff like what Vesta 360 is doing and moving towards cloud-based software, moving towards configurators and the ability to kind of integrate your design and estimating all the way into your business processes and your data throughout. I think that's very key. And I love seeing what you're doing with Vesta 360 and being able to integrate with existing software instead of kind of building another silo that people have to choose whether they're in or out of.
yeah, exactly.
So if people want to find out more about Vesta 360, they want to reach out and contact you, what is the best way they can go about doing that?
Well, we got website Vesta360.com is probably the best way. We do have a contact us page there that you can reach out. You can send me an email directly at Garin, Garen, at Vesta360.com as well. You can go on our YouTube channel, type in Vesta360, you'll find some videos that we're constantly uploading as well. We have plans over the next couple of months to generate a lot more training content as well. So that's going to be part of our releases over the next few months on YouTube. But that would be the best way to reach out for now and learn more about us.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing about your story, your background, and the journey of creating Vesta 360. I'm excited to see how you guys can continue to develop and follow your story. So I'll put links to everything you just shared so that everybody can quickly get a hold or go find out more about Vesta 360 and hopefully have you on again in the future.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Really appreciate it. It was a pleasure speaking with you today.
Awesome. You too.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Do you want to stay up to date about industry insights, new content, and our community of millworkers? Go to ductworksmw.com to sign up for our newsletter. I'll see you in the next episode of Verify in Field.